Welcome, everyone, to episode 21 of the What Sales and Marketing Got to Do with It podcast. My name is Gemma Adair, founder and principal marketing consultant at Riata Consultancy. This podcast aims to delve deep into the minds of sales and marketing industry leaders, uncovering what keeps them up at night, what drives their passion, and how they execute successful strategies in both their personal and professional lives. I'm delighted to welcome Helen Lancaster, who is the Chief Marketing Officer at Curve. Great to have you, Helen.
Gemma, it's great to be here. Thanks so much for having me on your podcast.
Great stuff. So, what's your drink of the day? Coffee, tea?
Oh my goodness, it's coffee. I am an absolute coffee addict and I drink loads of coffee, but I just have to stop around midday. Otherwise, as we all know, it keeps you up in the night, doesn't it? But I love coffee. I've got coffee with me now. Coffee percolator's going. So yeah, I'm coffee all the way.
Coffee all the way. Me too, I
Yeah.
think. I think in the last, I'd say year and a bit, I've been sort of coffee, coffee, coffee. It's been a bit mad really because I'm a tea drinker
Oh,
normally. So yeah, so I think tea, maybe drinking a bit too much coffee, I think.
adrenaline, Gemma, isn't it? It's keeping us
It
going.
is. It is. But yeah, without further ado, please introduce who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so my name's Helen Lancaster, as you said, and my current role is Chief Marketing Officer at a fabulous company called Curve. We're a cloud and digital transformation business, only 3 years old, so new, grown by acquisition. And yeah, that's what I spend my professional life doing now, day to day.
Perfect. And when and where did your marketing journey begin? Take us back.
Well, you know what, Gemma, I was listening to a couple of your previous guests actually, and just thinking about my own journey. And it wasn't really one that started in marketing, so that's the first thing to say, which at the time, or when I look back, I think, gosh, I've probably spent more of my career in commercial sales and other based role than I have in marketing, um, which which meant it was maybe difficult to get into marketing, or I did it kind of late in my career. But actually, the things I did beforehand, I think have stood me in brilliant stead when I did go into marketing. So I was listening to, I think it was Manish that you spoke to a
Ah,
while ago,
yes.
who was on the sales side and kind of thinking, had a lot of empathy for all the things he was saying, really, about the way people see sales. So when I started my career at a company, a fabulous company, it was called Nortel Networks, Northern Telecom, went through a few different renamings, but huge Canadian telco. And that was kind of by accident because it was the big employer in my area. And I just started working there like lots of other people and just accidentally found myself in this amazing company. And it was a brilliant company. It was huge, but it had a brilliant culture, had an amazing sort of quality of people right across the board, from sales to product to technical to, all the teams really. Just something I didn't appreciate as a 21-year-old going to a company because I didn't know anything different. But when I look back, it's with like great sort of fondness or great appreciation for that. And when I joined, I don't really think I knew what marketing was. I'd come out of university, there's a career called marketing, but I didn't study business. I didn't really know what marketing really involved, to be honest. So I did a bunch of roles in the commercial area. And I was in and around marketing teams, but they always seemed sort of very confident and very almost glamorous to me. Not, as a career, kind of thought, well, that looks really great, but that's kind of those people over there doing marketing. And I was involved in sales support and global accounts, and I ran a global account for a while in the end. And I even worked in sort of pricing departments, and I worked on the CRM side. So I just worked all over the place, quite randomly in a way, but I always loved, things that were close to the customer. So I was always drawn to the sales side. I always enjoyed working with salespeople, but the couple of experiences I had with sales, I definitely thought, oh, that's not quite for me. Like I love hearing firsthand and having these close relationships with customers, but I didn't love the sales target on your back, if you like. I didn't quite like the individual contributor aspect of it. It just didn't feel like my thing. So although I had all these great experiences, I never really felt like that was the career I wanted. And then I lived abroad for a bit in my early 30s, and when I came back, I thought, right, I want to go into marketing. I kind of had this. I did my CIM actually as well in my 20s, so I must have known that there was, must have been thinking about it, but not doing anything about it professionally. And then I just tried to get experience in my company in my 30s. I think I was about, well into my mid 30s by the time I actually got my first marketing role, my proper marketing role. And I was like, oh, I love it. Yeah, oh, here I am. This is what I wanted to do all along. So it took me a long time to get there, but once I was there, I was like, oh yeah, this is what I want to do. This is a career for me. I love it. It felt like fun, not like hard work.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Which brings me to my next question, actually. Um, I do love how your journey started. It wasn't just a natural kind of, oh, I want to do marketing, that's where I want to be. I think it's lovely hearing your story and the different kind of experiences you had and things leading up to that point. It's really interesting.
Yeah, well, it is really interesting, and when you look back on it, I think I draw on that all the time. And when I was listening to Manish and people saying this and that about, he was saying people have a certain perception of
Perception.
salespeople, and they are either um, not necessarily lazy, but they're coasting, or, that people have all sorts. And I never had that perception of salespeople because I'd seen firsthand it's really hard. And, you are only as good as either your last quarter or your numbers, and it's quite one dimensional, or it can be. And so,
Mm.
any step I took in the marketing path, I just felt like I had to have my sales colleagues hand in hand with me, and that was definitely an empathy I got from that part of my career.
Amazing. And I think it's really great that you had that sort of sales experience. And it's kind of like a great transition into marketing. And you could kind of see that whole kind of the importance of sales alignment and kind of bringing those teams together and collaborating and so on and so forth. So you could come at it from a different perspective because of your sort of experience with it.
I think that's right, and I think, it was a learning, and that marketing just doesn't work without sales. It just doesn't. If it's an isolated discipline or function, there are
Yeah.
parts of it that work a little bit like that, but in the main, you're a partner, and actually, if sales aren't with you and if you're not delivering for sales, like, what are you doing actually? It just has to be that close, and the most powerful projects or the times that have felt best in my career have been the times that are most hand in hand with kind of sales colleagues, because you can kind of feel that, you feel that drive and you feel that fly. And on the flip side, the times that haven't felt quite so good, it's been when that connection might be missing. So it's just at the heart of everything.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. So it brings me to the next question. What like have you faced challenges in your marketing career? And if so, what were they and how did you overcome them?
Well, it's a really good question, isn't it? And I suppose when I hear that question, it really gets you thinking about what are the challenges? Because in the main, it's such a great discipline, and I've enjoyed it so much, most of the time, that you kind of forget some of these challenges along the way, because you're kind of wrapped into the next exciting project as you go, and they become sort of distant memories. So you kind of have to rack your brains a bit. But there have been loads. I mean, of course. And I think if I was going to summarize the challenges, it's a little bit to what I was talking about, um, you know, with not being connected. So challenges have come, and I don't know what other marketers would think, listening to this, but I've had so many times in my career this kind of drive for short term, um, whatever it might be, leads or pipeline, or this project isn't selling well, can we push it? Or um, tactical project one, two, three, whatever it might be. And every time you get the brief, you think, oh, because you instinctively know that short-term drives that are led by whatever that driver might be are loads of work and ultimately unsuccessful. But these kind of short-term needs can come out of businesses, and I don't think it really happens to me so much now. Um, in the role that I'm in, but certainly when I look back, I felt that sinking feeling, like, on several times. And sometimes you have no choice and you have to do it depending on what you're in. And you kind of ultimately do these projects that just feel like, you didn't, or perhaps you didn't have the experience to steer the conversation away from doing them at that time in your career as well. So sinking feeling projects all over the place. would be one thing. And then on the flip side, I was just thinking actually back to projects I've had, and there have been examples of really nice strategic projects. And the one I think about an ABM project that we put together at a subsidiary of NTT I was working at the time, and I have to say it was one of my favorite projects to be involved in. It was so creative and so strategic and so customer led, but actually it went up to the board and it had grown so many legs and arms that it became this quite expensive, in fact, way too expensive budget item. And of course they don't approve it because they're not
Mm,
connected enough to the project. It becomes like a huge line item. You know, that money may or may not be available in the overall scheme of, and so actually it stopped. So that was like a year-long project of like convincing everyone, but actually not probably having the stakeholders in the end on board, or the stakeholder that was on board in the end wasn't as on board as we thought.
mm.
So like, crying in your cup of coffee then around like this huge piece of work, which, we kind of knew was good, but in the end, no, that wasn't enough. So I think my learning from that, if I did any ABM work again, and it's something we're looking at in my current role, would be test and go, pilot, learn, small scale, prove the concept, go again, so that it doesn't become something that, it just can't get off the ground.
And just for people that may not know what ABM
Yes,
is.
yes. So yeah, of course, like account-based marketing, which means lots of different things to lots of different people and can be large scale, small scale. But the account-based marketing in that sense was trying to position our marketing to global pharmaceutical industries. So by the
Brilliant.
nature of it, had become huge. Yeah,
I
start
I do
small.
love I am a fan of ABM sort of programs and campaigns and stuff, customer advocacy and all the rest of it. And it's a great way to leverage sort of testimonials and wins and things like that to kind of tell that customer story. So, yeah, and industry specific content and things like that, you
It's
know.
exactly, and we all know it's the way to go, we all know it's the sort of where the, you know, I don't know if it's even the future now, but we know it's where marketing is going or where it is. It's just sometimes positioning those programs in the right way. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think industries want to know what the other person in that industry is doing, that other organization's
Of
doing, and it's
course. Yeah. Makes sense.
yeah, definitely. What's trending and what's keeping them up at night, you know.
Yeah, and it's
Um,
exciting work if you're a marketer because you want to know what's driving your customers. It's exciting to research it. You feel kind of close to the industry and the dynamic, and you start to feel as you go, you start to make progress, and it becomes quite exciting in the way that traditional kind of chuck things at the wall campaigns that we all, have been involved in the past feel that they're random and they don't really work. And getting close to customers and insight, if it feels great from a marketing point of view.
Definitely. So what does a day in the life of Helen look like? Take us through that. And it could be from when you start your day, when you get up in the morning to, when you close off things in sort of towards afternoon, evening.
Yeah, so what does a day in the life look like? Well, it looks a bit different now to how it looked 6 or so years ago. So that being, young children in my life who they're 3 and 6 now, so getting a little bit bigger. So the beginning of the day starts with chaos, as people who have similar children, similar ages will probably relate to. So getting young children ready out the door to wherever they're going. So it's half term this week, right? So that's we're on a
Yeah.
different schedule, dropping different places, different stuff going on. So trying to get your head around that and not drop children at the wrong places, and try and be organised. That's how the beginning of the day starts. So by the time I kind of sit down to work, which could be between 8:30 and 10, let's be honest, depending on what's going on in the morning, I kind of have to have a deep breath and a cup of coffee, probably on my second cup of coffee by then, back to the beginning. So that's like, it feels like your day started a long time ago. And then, you know, it, my current role is really varied. Um, in lots of senses, but the sense that it's most varied is that I am central marketing function, really. So CMO, but the central marketing team is the bit that sits directly with me. And what's varied about it is we've got different functions. So we've got a sales function, we've got marketing ops, digital marketing, um, building marketing functions, and um, we've got an internal comms team as well. So, although the day and the beginning of the week, and again, I don't know how it resonates for other people, but we spend lots of time at the beginning of the week in one-to-ones and catch-ups. And actually, when I was early in my career, I don't think I necessarily got a lot of one-to-ones. I'm going to be honest. Like, I don't even think I spoke to my bosses. And sometimes I would global in another, but definitely
Peers.
dynamic of the current workforce. People like their one-to-ones, and that's great. So we spend loads of time one-to-ones, catch-ups, projects. Um, and then again, depending on where you are in the financial year, we're doing quite a lot of planning now for our next financial year starting in April. So we're full into sort of team meetings, but like proper big team meetings, a bit of external facilitation, looking back on the year gone or going, looking forward to the year ahead, but trying to do that in a really high energy, fun way as well, so that the team, especially your marketing teams, because we have quite an extroverted team that are quite creative, like to have a lot of fun. So we do brainstorming, and really trying to gear ourselves up for the year ahead. And then yeah, it's really varied in the sense, and again, this is a subject close to my heart. We run a lot to our internal events actually at Curve. So that can be big internal events, but the minute it's International Women's Day, which is coming up on the 8th of March. And so we have like a program which is led well, with me and some colleagues, some of my, female colleagues at Curve, and we're thinking about training and can we connect with customers around International Women's Day and partners? What can we do as celebrations? Which women can we profile in our organisation? So that's something that I've definitely not been involved with at other organisations, but we do spend at Curve quite a lot of time on this kind of, I call it EX really, but it's sustainability, diversity, different things that we're
Nice.
really building programs. And I can't tell you actually, if I look back, that's something that I have to say gives me a lot of satisfaction, definitely when thinking about the week, or thinking about the role, sorry. But then we've got like, all of our run rate stuff. So we're looking at our campaigns, we're looking at our verticals, we're looking at the group meetings that we run. So then there's all the kind of project things that kind of get that fill the week up as well. So, you know, it goes by in a flash. I don't want to say like, know how it is. We kind of get to Friday and we go like, actually, what happened this week? So yeah, lots of looking ahead, certainly at the minute in the role.
Gotcha. And I think by the sound of it, and I think a lot of people listening to the podcast can just really understand the breadth of activities. There's a lot of different activities which kind of come into play. There's campaigns, there's, like you said, what's happening, what kind of message are you getting out there internally, externally, customer stuff, different initiatives, events,
There's so
so
many
much.
things. I mean, I don't think that the problem is the problem is certainly not people wanting marketing to be involved, right? That's what I found. Like we are at the heart of everything, and that is one of the things I
Mm,
love about the role. I don't feel like we're not in the conversation ever. I feel like we're, right at the heart of some of these programs. But the thing I think I would sum up what working with my team at the minute is we can do anything, but we can't do everything. Like we could
yeah.
we could do a brilliant job on, all these different opportunities that are coming to us every day, but not on all of them. And that's a
Yeah.
hard thing. And I like, back to the beginning, I'm a bit of a do think do. I love jumping in, feet first, let's go. Yeah, we'll do it, take it on. But actually, we want to set ourselves up a bit for success. And sometimes that
Mm,
does mean either no or not yet, which is I find that I mean that's not one of my core skills. I'm a let's go, let's do it. So
yeah.
yeah, what's realistic? How can we prioritize? What can we do this week, this quarter?
Gotcha. You may have mentioned it earlier. I know you've mentioned a lot of things. I think about what you like about marketing. The ABM comes into the mix of things. But yeah, what do you like about marketing and why? And what do you least like about marketing and why? So there's two questions.
Um, Well, yeah, the first one is a kind of easy question when I think about it. And one of my colleagues has got this great saying, actually, I love it. And he says there's coffee meetings and beer meetings. And what he means is not, I mean, we've talked about coffee a bit already. So not necessarily the drink, nothing to do with what you're drinking, but coffee meetings are your project planning. What are we doing? Tick lists, progress reports, interrogation. And beer meetings are let's kick back and actually think about, what's going to make this year brilliant. How do we launch XYZ? You know, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, and I am in my happy place in a beer meeting. I mean, let's be honest. I just, there's no better way to spend a day um, for me than with a team. And I've got a great team at Curve, and it doesn't have to just be the marketing team. It can be obviously brainstorming with our colleagues, which is probably where it gets harder because then people challenge us on the million ideas, of course, that we've come up with. But, that sort of offsite, take a problem, let's, let's be creative, but let's be challenging, let's be different, it's almost the kind of, imagine that money and time weren't an issue. What are the things we want
Mm.
to do? That's my happy place, thinking about the future, big picture. Yeah, I mean, I would do that. Ideas sort of pour out of us, of course, in the marketing
Oh,
team. So
brilliant.
that's the happy place. That's what I enjoy doing the most. And yeah, you know, that's probably why myself, colleagues, yourself, Gemma, sort of enjoy, or that's a really important part of marketing, right? Isn't it? And then I suppose the bits that I enjoy the least is I have to really force myself to um to do the bits which are a bit more either admin or planning related, and they're so important, right? But they're the bits
Mm.
that I have to really sit down and um take the time and force myself to think about, because I know that I've got a team who are running at a million miles an hour, and it's my responsibility to help them not get waylaid by things flying all over the place, which they do. And we know they're going to, and we would support it. But just thinking about what are the things we can really achieve without, people are stressed, there's pressure, there's lots of stuff at us coming at us in these busy it's not just B2B tech worlds. I'm sure it's the same everywhere. It's not an issue of having too much to do, or sorry, too little to do. So really just thinking about the goals, how will we measure our success? How will we prove our success? How will we talk to it? What's the things that our other stakeholders would want to hear? Are we checking in? You know, that's the bit I wouldn't say I like it least, but I have to remind myself how important that is, and not to get lost in the world of the beer meeting.
Definitely, definitely. It's a bit like data, right? You've got a CRM, you've got to like mine your data, cleanse your data, and as cumbersome that it is, or teeth grinding, it needs to be done because
Yep.
effectively that's what you're working with when send campaigns, launch campaigns, do events. It's so critical, um and it just needs to be done.
It needs to be done, and it's at the heart of everything, and marketing is a
Exactly.
data-driven discipline. And
Mm-hmm.
again, when I started in the world of marketing, or when I started my career and looked at marketing teams, I don't think they were living in that world. But every single marketeer now, you know, we've all got technology at the heart of everything we do. We've got the
Yeah,
world of AI coming at us, or here, that we're trying to
exactly.
get our heads around. We send everything through our digital channels. So if we don't get to the heart of that and understand that, we'll never either learn, prove success. And the great thing about it is, of course, you can test and go, and that's the
Exactly.
positive thing about it. But like you say, there's discipline. The tech stack is not always our friend. We're
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah,
integrate tools every day. It can feel slow sometimes to get to where you want to go, to have the tech stack that you want. But oh my goodness, is it important? It's kind of at the heart of everything. So yes, yeah. I mean, I think as marketers, we all have to get that. I think we all do get that, but that's also at the heart of it.
definitely. Which brings me to, what are the misconceptions do people have about marketing, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's like the sales career, isn't it? Listening to Manish on one of your podcasts is,
Podcast.
um, I mean, I hate to say it, but it still happens that people do call us things like the colouring in department. I mean, I have heard that, and I think they kind of mean we make beautiful things and brochures and design things, and we do, and I love nothing better than making something the most beautiful it can be. It's really important to have an eye for design, but oh my
Yeah.
goodness, is that not the first thing, when we think about marketing? And um, at its best, it's such a highly strategic, integrated function as part of a business. So when you hear these throwaway comments around, the sort of tactical aspects of marketing, I mean, that's a big part of it, but it's certainly not what it is. We probably all bristle when we probably all bristle when we hear things like that. So yeah, that would be one misconception. And I suppose it's back to just some of the things I was saying around, tactical execution, events, um, the tactics, which are so critical and can be amazing when they're delivered brilliantly. And actually, certainly at Curve, things like events, they are probably still our best performing marketing
Yeah.
tactic,
Events are
and
brilliant.
they're just brilliant. And they're big pipeline generators, and more so than anything else. But it's certainly not all that marketing is. So it's this kind of misconception of, can we run an event? Can we run a campaign? Can we have a brochure? But seen as isolation, when actually it's such an integrated, important strategic partnering function to sales, to the technical team, to everyone really in the organization.
Yeah, definitely agree. I love asking this question. So I'm a firm believer in sales and marketing alignment. I'm sure you get that from me as well. What are your thoughts? And I think you touched on a few things earlier which kind of relate to this question. So yeah, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like two halves of the same coin, really, and it's when it's done the best. I mean, I think back to, I had a great sales director when I worked at a company called KCOM, chap called Max, and I think that was in my first proper marketing role, and he kind of sat down and said, "Okay, you're marketing, I'm sales. Who are we going after?" And we did a proper evaluation of the market, from here's all the companies we could go after, here's the ones we will go after, and what should we do to do it. And, I felt like quite privileged at the time to kind of sit down and go through that. That felt like, I was like, "Oh," and that it was brilliant, and that's what we did. And our whole, program ran to 2 vertical sectors with whatever the activities were, and, we tracked our progress against it. So the power of that, and I would add in actually product as a third sort of missing,
Mm,
product or services, but whatever it might be, this kind of the holy trinity almost of sales marketing, and if this kind of technical or product area as well. If you have the three, that certainly feels even stronger, because you're really rooted
mm,
in your proposition, as well as who you're going after and how. And it really all starts there. And you really want insight from your salespeople, because you sometimes have access to customers, and you want access to customers, and you want to do research with customers. But some of those things can be, you know, um, infrequent or expensive if in research projects. So you want your salesperson telling you, really, you've been with whoever today, Barclays, I don't know, what are they thinking? What are they doing? Could we have an informal chat with them? I feel like that's it's the gold. It's the absolute
mm,
gold. How did that
God.
meeting go? What did they think about this? Can we talk to them? So if you don't have those connections, you know, you you'll never be delivering the sort of strategic, valuable approach that I think sales colleagues in your organization needs. So, as I say, for me, having worked in both sides of that, sales and marketing, beautiful partnership, um, yeah, it's the heart. It's just the heart of everything.
Definitely. And I think to what you said as well is that what's really key, why, well, one of the many reasons why sales and marketing should be aligned as well, is that, you know, that insight that you get from sales, you can take that into your messaging. You can expand on your proposition. You know what's happening in the industry. You know what's happening on the customer side, and it just shows alignment. It just shows that we're, telling the story. Telling the right story to that audience.
Yeah, that's it, and I would almost, if your salespeople come to you with an idea, as long as it's not, can you launch me a tactical activity on product X, you kind of want to grasp it with both hands.
Yeah.
I remember walking into one of my companies and one of the salespeople saying, I want to bring client, whatever it was, some financial services client into some Olympic. It was the year of the Olympics. We want to hire this X, Y, Z. Should we do? I was like, yes, brilliant. A salesperson has come to me with this great idea.
Idea.
Customer, we're bringing in 20 customer. Okay, it was actually in that example, I suppose, an event, but like customer, 20 of your customers in one room. Oh my God, what's not to love? So I I just yeah, sales and marketing to me, it's just two sides of the same coin, and you've got to grasp that as a marketer and go for it.
Definitely, definitely. If a young person, or let's say, someone that wants to, come out of a sort of career or industry and try marketing, or um, what advice would you say, or what would you give them? What advice would you give them?
Um, Come and give it a go.
Hmm.
Find a company or a contact or someone who'll give you a go. So, I've run loads of internships and things like that, where we've brought people in from anywhere for a week to a year to give them a go. So if you can find an opportunity like that, and not everyone can, but if you can, get in and give it a go. Because even in a week, if you shadow someone in marketing, I think it could give you a flavor of what's to like or not to like. So yeah, stick your size nines in where you can and have a go. But I suppose also these sort of specialisms and qualifications. There's so many areas of marketing now, and some of them are really specialist. So there's the whole digital side and all the different disciplines in there. There's kind of traditional generalist marketing. There's the ops and there's the tech stack. And there's the there's so many flavors of
So many
marketing.
different.
So yeah, you don't. I suppose you don't have to limit yourself to any of those, but it's good to have an appreciation around, are you really passionate about keyword research and SEO? I don't know, and what are the things you can do to investigate that? So I think doing the studying is a really good thing, and doing it off your own back. And there's like free courses you can do and things online, but then the good old CIM or the digital
Yeah.
marketing diplomas. And I
Institute.
look at them
Yeah, as
now when
well.
my colleagues are asking, and of course they've got AI modules in them and all these kinds of things. Because I guess as well as a if you were a young person coming into marketing, you've grown up in that digital era
Mm.
100%. And people like me desperately need people like them to come in and, help us navigate some of the world that we're moving into. So,
Mm.
yeah, train yourself up where you can, do your courses, try and get bits of people experience, be persistent,
Yeah, I
keep at
agree.
it. Yeah, do you? Yeah.
I agree. I
Got
agree.
to, yeah.
You've got to kind of be bold, and kind of, sometimes I think if there's not a position, or there's not an opportunity, be bold, and perhaps a company or an organization can create one, um, and start networking, and kind of um getting in the door that way, because I think just by turning up and showing initiative, and kind of putting yourself out there in that sense, can pay dividends for you. You know.
Yeah, that's it, and I suppose, like, back to the way I started in my career, sometimes you just get in and then you can and move around. So if you find a company that
Hmm.
you like that has an opportunity in a similar role, you can navigate them. Once you're in, it's much easier than once you're on the outside. So yeah, just give it a go.
Give it a go. Why not?
A go.
Work-life balance.
What's
Now
that, Gemma?
I know you're a mom,
Yeah.
and by the sounds of it, the day in the life of Helen. I mean, phew, there's a lot going on there, isn't there? So, take us through work-life balance. What does that even look like? Home, work? Yes.
Well, it's a, does it exist? I was listening to someone else I was listening to a conversation with Earl actually, Gemma as
Oh,
well, and
yes. Yes.
Earl is also a contact of mine, and I was listening to what he said about work-life balance, and he was kind of saying, yeah, does it exist? Is that even the right term? Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I guess I I have work-life balance in the sense of as soon as the laptop shuts down at night, I'm back to busy, you know, family stuff, if you like, family life. But I don't know that I take lots of opportunities for myself to get time.
Mm.
So I would, and I don't have any magic answers to this one. But one thing I've started doing recently, and I was listening to, I think it was Mel Robbins on a podcast, who's a lady that
Oh,
I
yeah.
really admire,
Oh, I
who
love, yeah, love
she's
Mel.
a fabulous lady, and she just has lots of tips and tricks, and I just try and build little things into my day to keep me sane. And the one thing that she said, because you can't do everything, as we said, but one thing that she said that stuck with me was, um, take 5 minutes at the beginning of your day, or take 10 minutes before you look at your phone, before you look at the laptop. I mean, ideally more. If you've got 15 minutes, 15, etc., etc., and just think about, it's not even just your professional life, but like what's going on in your head. Where do you need to get to? What do you want to achieve? What's the important things? Because once you open your laptop, you're in, you're
You're in.
done. That's it. Like, you may as well, forget any of your thoughts you had at the beginning of the day. So I find that really helpful, because it's certainly true. The second I open my laptop, things start pinging, emails come in, you're lost, you're in meetings.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I do for sanity. I think she also said take a walk. I like that at the beginning. So again, I don't
Mm.
necessarily have lots of time to do that, but I get to do the school walk, run sometimes, and I get 10 minutes to, just take a bit of breath of fresh air and think about the day. So I think, I could benefit from doing a lot more of that, but I sort of take my 10 and 15 minutes where I can. And I feel a bit better now than I did when I had really young children, because just, you're just on survival mode then. And that's something I
Mm.
feel quite strongly about as well, recognizing women coming back into the workplace and helping them refine their professional personas, if you like, because you certainly don't feel like you have a lot to offer at some stages. So yeah, work life balance, you've got to prioritize it, I suppose. You've got to find the time, because you come back better from the balance that you take. Um, Build something into your day every day. That's what works for me.
Nice. You just mentioned Mel earlier.
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
I mean, I love podcasts myself. I
yeah,
love, whether it's business or marketing related books and things like that. Did read a bit of fiction for a bit. But I just find it's hard to kind of get into a reading and
yeah.
actually absorbing, what the content and so on. What are the things that you like to do and sort of connect with? And are you a podcast? Are you a book reader?
I mean, like yourself, a bit of everything. um, English literature degree, all those years ago. So I've always been into fiction and still am. But by the time I get into fiction, at the end of the day, I don't read many pages of a fiction book before, you're kind of asleep, right? So I try and this is something I've definitely come to in the last year or two, I would say, and didn't do so much of before, but really trying to I love advice on what's a good podcast to listen to. So if someone tells me, "Oh, you should listen to this podcast," I'll listen to it, because if they've taken the time to recommend it, they obviously think
Yeah.
it's good. And I found people that I wouldn't have found, through that way. And then I've just, had networks that I'm interested in, and, do little 20-minute bursts of something or other which I likes. But it's funny, they're both called Mel. I don't know if that's, but Mel Robbins and Mel Miles. So Mel Robbins
Ah,
is the lady we just talked about, who did lots of speaking on the business circuit, and then wrote these books, High Five and The 5 Second Journal. And I haven't actually read those books, but I have listened to her podcast, and I just love her kind of no nonsense advice. To
yeah.
It's kind of life, isn't it? It's kind of
Yes,
business, but
yeah.
it's
She's
also
quite, yeah.
life. And And I love her energy. They're both American ladies, these two. I love her energy, this kind of no nonsense, straight talking, you've got to get
Yeah.
your act together, and here's some stuff that I've been through, which I am going to impart to you. So
To
I
you,
love Mel
yeah.
Robbins. And Mel Miles is someone I've just discovered recently. And I was interested with her because she's the ex-CMO of Harley Davidson. So she had,
Oh, interesting.
is that the most glamorous? I don't know if it's the most glamorous, but it's a high profile, big brand CMO role. So I was kind of thinking, oh wow, that's an interesting perspective. And then of course, if you listen, she's written a book called Soulcation, which I've just downloaded the audio book for, but I did listen to her talk about it, about
Yeah.
it's cracking in the corporate role actually, because as brilliant as that experience had been, it became less and less fulfilling for her, and
Mm,
actually how to um, how to design the life that you want that's fulfilling, whether that be in the big corporate role or indeed for her outside of it. So I'm really sort of attracted to these trailblazers. Those two happen to be women and called Mel, but this kind of yeah, I love hearing those stories. I find those really inspirational. And Stephen Bartlett's another one. We all know Stephen
yep.
Bartlett, don't we? I mean,
Stephen's great. Yeah.
I listen to his podcasts whenever I can, and I think I like the style of all of those in general because they really delve deeper, and it's not just about kind of performance or about business in general, but really delving into life, and I find that I could listen to that all day long. But there's also, and I don't know if marketeers would all know it, there's the B2B marketing network, and there's a few ladies actually in that, Georgia Gilmore and Shane Redding, who I love listening to as well, ex-marketeers, share it, who have gone out on their own, like yourself, Gemma, right? Doing consulting and all sorts of things in the marketing world, podcasts. So I'm really inspired by, you guys as well, who are out talking to people and sharing your knowledge. So, it's not just the sort of celebrities, but people in my network I love listening to as well.
No, that makes sense. I'm the same. I love, you touched upon Robbins earlier, and I think the reason why I like her is that she can have those, not going to say it on the podcast, but she can have those bad days, and she'll want to have a Netflix day at time, but then she has to kind of have that internal conversation with herself to go, no, you've got to do this, get up and go. And I think because she's got such a large audience, it's kind of like she really understands her why, connects with her why, and there's a reason why she's doing that. And she wants to, everyone has a story. She has her story. And I love how she can say, I've been through that. I wouldn't give you any
Yeah.
advice that I've not gone through or taken myself. So I think those kind of, whether it's male, female, whatever, I think it's a real rawness to it. And I think that's where Stephen comes into things as well. He's just very like, yeah, I'm crap, or this is what I've learned.
You're right. It's just that complete honesty of those
Yeah.
characters and telling you their experience so you can learn from it. I mean, it's exactly that, isn't it? I'm really drawn to that and appreciate that. And I kind of think there's a trailblazing element to it as well, and
Mm,
bravery that I'm really drawn to. It's kind of thoughtful, it's pioneering, and I could listen to it all day long.
yeah, definitely. I constantly listen to podcasts while I'm or motivational sort of, podcasts as well that literally yeah, there's kind of like just quotes, from different people, snippets from different people. And I think it's great if you can just kind of listen to that. It does kind of, it helps you to keep going and kind of like keep that motivation, in
Yeah,
the
it
right
gives you a
way.
time out, gives you a bit of time to think, and
Exactly.
you come back into your day to day with something new. Yeah.
Definitely. What did you want to be when you grew up?
Um, I wanted to be I didn't really know what I wanted to be, but I kind of wanted to be a journalist because when you do an English degree,
Yes.
I guess that's one thing
Yeah.
that you think you could do because you like writing and reading. So you think journalism, and I don't think I really took it any further than that. I think I worked on my local paper for work experience when I was about
Okay.
16 and absolutely loved it. But I think that was about it. And then, and then when I came out of university and thought, oh, okay, and like I say, I ended up working for a temporary role in this company down the road, and the rest is kind of history because it's accidental almost, or luck. Well, in the end, is it accidental or luck? There's an element of luck
Mm,
because of where you start out. And I
exactly.
stayed in that company for 15 years.
Wow. But I think as well that there's the luck, and then there's also how you navigate that journey as well,
Yes.
because I think you don't realize it like later in life, but when like you don't really realize it, sorry, at the time, but later in life when you look back and you go, oh, okay, when you kind of see there's a pattern forming or some kind of the steps that you took to get to this point. Um, and get that
Yeah.
kind of realization or that kind of like, oh, okay, it makes
Yeah, because
sense now,
that's it.
you
You get
know?
experience along the way. And the other thing I would
Yeah.
say is, I always just wanted to work hard, and,
Mm,
you know, different roles, different parts of the business. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the game that, I get a buzz out of it. And I always wanted to work hard and try new things. So that's the other thing, isn't it? You come into something, you give it a good go and you work hard, and people reward that, I think, in the end, or they see it, or they see your enthusiasm. So although it's luck,
definitely.
there's that element to it as well, which is, just work at it.
Work at it. Which brings
Yeah.
me to the next question, which is what is your passion in life and what drives you?
Um, my passion in life, I'm increasing, so I get a massive thrill out of professional career and buzz and things like that. And I would have said previously, that's a big passion for me. But I think more and more, it's not just that actually. And some of the reasons, when we're talking and getting excited about the Mel's and people like Stephen Bartlett, is I really, it's really important to me to be purpose driven as well.
Hmm.
And that kind of means not just in me and where I'm going, but in the projects that I work on, the ones that give me the biggest satisfaction are ones that make some kind of change. So whether that's, International Women's Day and helping women in my organization in Curve to just find more of a voice, or to showcase women across the organization who haven't had a voice. And I mean, we're not doing amazing things, but we're just really trying to nudge that forward. Or working with my chief sustainability officer on the sorts of programs we can run for the year. Those things really give satisfaction, and I get a massive buzz out of leads and opportunity and pipeline. But the things that stay with me are definitely the ones that have something which is a bit more purpose driven. And that's something which I wouldn't have said years ago, but I feel like the world's also shifted in that time, and we have much more opportunity now as part of our platform and our work to be involved in other initiatives. And I think we have a bit of a responsibility, actually, if we have, any kind of voice, to be involved in those initiatives. So, where that will take me in the next years, um, I don't necessarily know, but it's something that I want to be more part of the work that I do now as part of my organization, that I do personally. I mean, there's lots of other passions in life, right? So I love being involved in the school. So I have two young boys who are school, early years school. It's such fun. It's such a laugh to get involved with the parents and do some fundraising, meet the teachers, and be part of that. I absolutely love that. And then, I've always been like mad on sport and travel and combining the two, but I do a bit less of that at the minute, if I'm honest, to squeeze that into the day. That's something I'm sure will come back now as my children get a bit older. But yeah, just those things, purpose driven, being able to give back, get involved, nothing better.
Just out of curiosity, what sport do you like?
I'm a I'm a frustrated triathlete right now, so I love running and I love swimming.
Oh,
And,
interesting.
do you know what? I say to my colleagues, I was like, "I did do a half Ironman when I was 40. That's like my pinnacle. I did this thing." She was like 8 years ago now.
Oh, God.
I'd love to do another one when I'm 50. So I did this half Ironman. It was great.
Oh,
It felt
brilliant.
amazing. I would love to do one now in a couple of years. I love running because you can put on your trainers and go,
You
and
can, yeah.
that's it. And, yeah, it's kind of the same for swimming. So, and if you can do them in some kind of social or glamorous location, even better.
Even better. Brilliant, brilliant. Is there someone that inspires you, dead or alive?
Um, some of the people we've talked about today, if I'm really honest, are the people I find most
Mm,
inspirational now. I think it's that, yeah, it's trailblazers. Do you know what? I've got Earl's answer in my head now that he gave to you, and I'm finding it hard to shake because I feel like I'm going to give the same answer. But these kind of whether it's high flying or sort of high profile celebrity status, if you like, or people in my network that I talk to that really go out and do the thing that they're passionate about, to
mm.
help other people. I'm just really inspired by that. I find that
Yeah,
really inspirational. I could name a celebrity or something I'm inspired by, but I can't really think of one. So I do think it's yeah, it's people in the professional world that have gone out and blazed a trail.
that's brilliant. That is brilliant. If you could speak to your younger self, what would you say to them?
um what I would say to my younger self is, don't worry if you're not taking the traditional path, because you know you'll end up in a place that's good
Right.
from hard work and luck and making those opportunities. So if you don't walk into the particular field that you want, or it takes you a long time to get to that role, or I went and lived in Spain in my early 30s for 4 or 5 years and learned Spanish, and I kind of, I didn't take a step out of professional life. I was still working at my company, but I certainly wasn't climbing the corporate ladder. I was having an experience, and I wouldn't change that for a second. So um I think I would say it doesn't have to be the conventional way. Doesn't matter if it's around the houses. If know what you want in the end, there's a way to get there. Don't panic. Everything fine.
That's sound advice, I think. Yes, for for a younger self or a younger person,
Yeah.
for sure. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Well, I see myself doing, I'd definitely be in the marketing arena. I could definitely see myself, in my current company at Curve, because it's a real purpose-driven organization. There's lots of opportunity. It's growing like mad, startup world, which has been new to me. Um, and the opportunity to just drive some of these purpose-driven initiatives, I think, is where I can see myself doing it more and more. And I would love to live a bit more flexibly as well, over the next sort of 3 to 5 years and beyond. I've got a huge passion for sort of languages, and I spent lots of time in Spain. I could see myself spending more time, I could see myself like looking to get property in Spain or something at some stage. Might be far off, I don't know. Um, and just like designing a life that kind of works professionally and personally. But yeah, just continuing to do things that are more purpose led. I think that's where my path will go.
That's perfect. I love that whole saying about designing the life that you want.
Yeah,
And I think Earl is a firm believer in that as well. He talks about that quite a lot. The human code breaker himself, as he likes to call himself, which he is. And I can see why you both connected. So yeah, definitely talking the same language for sure. Purpose driven, designing a life that you want. Um,
yeah,
and it's not it's kind of like it's on your terms. It's not on everybody else's or what you know what others want you to live by or do or like or whatever. It's kind of what you want and you believe, um, which is important. What do you want to be remembered by?
um, projects I was in being great fun,
Okay.
creating high performance teams that also had a great time along the way. So doing great work, um, professionally and personally, I suppose, doesn't have to be just something in a professional network. It could be driving some initiative, I don't know, that you're working on with the school, but it's really important to me. I think it's sometimes underestimated how important it is to have great fun along the way while you're doing it. Not everyone wants great fun, do they? But lots of
Mm,
people do. So,
yeah.
um, ha you know, remembered for being in a team that I was, like, part of or leading, and that being, like, a really positive experience. We really enjoyed that. We did great things, we did great work, but we had a great time along the way.
That's a good answer. Just a few more questions left. I love this question because people kind of go, "Oh, that's a good one." So, if you had the chance to be a superhero or have superpowers,
Mm.
what would that be and why?
I'm gonna be the worst person at answering this question because I don't live in the world of superheroes, and my sons haven't quite got there yet in terms of, like, the superhero world, so I'm not even gonna say anyone that's, like, modern or, like, trendy, but, like, the one I would say, that, just springs to mind, it's gotta be Wonder Woman because she was a
Yeah,
trailblazer, and she was, like, one of the first, and she was the female superhero, and she did it with style, and she was kind of trailblazing, and she's still, really relevant today. So, sorry to the world of all the Marvels or whatever but for me, it's like, yeah, it's Wonder Woman
she's a
retro.
classic, right? She's a classic one. So she is, yeah.
She's a classic. She's a classic.
Yes. And she stands the test of time, you know?
That's
She
it. She
will
stands. She's got
always
it.
be remembered for years to come, you know.
That's it. That's it, Gemma. I'd be interested what everyone else says now, but yeah, Wonder Woman for me.
Yay, Wonder Woman. If you had to ask the audience a question, what would that be?
Um, oh gosh, that's a good question, isn't it? If I had to ask the audience a question, um, it would be maybe it would be, what what drives you or what should drive us in the world of sales and marketing now? What's the things we should be thinking about? What's your number one project or your number one initiative or the number one thing that's on people's minds? Um, I'd just love to know, I'd just love to know what the priorities are, I guess, for people listening. What yeah, what drives you or what do you think your number one priorities are currently? Something like that.
Food for thought, for sure. Do you have any final words you'd like to share to conclude the podcast?
My final words to conclude the podcast. I don't know. I feel like a bit of the theme we've been talking about is a little bit around, seize the opportunity, seize the moment, give it a go. Um, and if your career doesn't take the traditional route, nothing wrong with that, nothing to worry about. It can kind of all work out in the end if you just follow your heart or follow your ambition.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Helen, for being on the podcast today. It's been an absolute pleasure. I think there's loads of nuggets and insights and so on that you've shared today. And I think, it's real, it's authentic, it's brilliant. I think it's great getting insight from a chief marketing officer like yourself and just kind of, how you work with your team, how you drive different activity. But also, I think what's really important is that kind of work-life balance, as we like to call it. So, I think you yourself have superpowers, with all of what you manage and drive, and I think it's really great that you live um, a life with purpose and meaning, and both personally and obviously professionally in the workplace. So it's pretty awesome. But thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Gemma, for having me on. It's been an absolute blast. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.